So I ended up doing the solo, and I like kind of just realized how fun that was, like, because I'd never performed for anybody. So that transition is kind of like what made me realize that I was having like more than just worries and sadness, that this was actually probably like a mental illness. I was working for Jack in the Box, and then I kind of like, in the middle of that year, I quit so I could do music. I was working for Jack in the Box, and then I kind of like, in the middle of that year, I quit so I could do music.
Hi, this is Engel of Sidewalk. Today I'm here with KAILEE Morgue.
Hi.
So you were born in Phoenix?
Yeah, my whole family moved from Chicago to Phoenix, like when I was in my mom's stomach. But yeah, so that's where I lived for like 20 years of my life.
And you come from a really, really big family.
Yeah, there's
6
kids on my mom's side, and then 2 or 3 on my dad's side. So I'm like the second oldest of all of them.
Oh.
So I basically like raised all of them.
Yeah. And it's kind of musical, right? Like your dad was showing you like Paramore and all this like music when you were young.
Yeah, my dad really influenced my music because he kind of got me more into the alternative scene, and then my mom, she's into music too, but not so much. She's like into like country and stuff that I didn't really prefer. So
Was she playing that around the house when you were growing up?
not so much around the house, but like every single time we got in the car, like the Dixie Chicks would come on. So that's like where I got that. And then on my dad's side, we'd be listening to like the Beatles and Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is like still currently what I listen to. So that influenced me a lot. And he played guitar. Like everyone on my dad's side played guitar. So that kind of made me want to learn how to play guitar when I was like 9 or 10.
And did he teach you then, or?
A little bit. He didn't really want to teach me just because he thought like as a parent, if he's teaching me, I wouldn't really get as much out of it from like as I would from an actual teacher. So I ended up kind of teaching myself for the most part, and then I went to a couple classes, but it was like I kind of already knew what they were teaching in the classes, so I still to this day though don't know that much though. So I just know like the basic. I can play simple stuff on the guitar.
And what careers are your parents in?
My dad is a painter. Well, my stepdad is, and then my actual dad is a truck driver, and then my mom does hair, and she also got into like doing parties and stuff. So my mom is really like creative in her own way, and she still like really, really helps me on the creative side of things now. So.
And was it intense growing with so many siblings?
Yeah, it's definitely like made me not want to have that many kids because it really was kind of a fight for attention and like food sometimes. Like we never were hungry, but it was just like they would make dinner and I'd come down and be like, okay, like what's for dinner, and everybody already ate, so I'd have to like make my own dinner. It's kind of just stuff like that, like and yeah, definitely just having to like fight for your attention.
And your mom's Christian, right? Was she like really like was it like a religious upbringing?
It wasn't like, my mom is Christian, but I wouldn't say she's like super religious to the point where it was like we were going to church all the time and that I was growing up like believing in that one God, like it was kind of being forced on me. But it was like, I don't know, it's definitely what I grew up like thinking was my personal choice, just because my whole family was Christian. And then as I got older, I was like, okay, I realized that there was like multiple points of view and like opinions and choices that I could have on my own. So now I'm agnostic, and my mom will still be like, KAILEE, Jesus will find you, and I'm like, Mom. but yeah, she never like forced it on me, especially because my biological dad is agnostic. So going between the two houses, I was like kind of exposed to multiple opinions and stuff.
And you said in your Q&A that you had like multiple near-death experiences, right? Like what were those? The first one I remember when I was like I didn't remember it obviously, but my mom said when she was giving birth to me, like I snapped my collarbone, and like I was almost like, it was just really dangerous, like the way that I came out. Yeah.
And then when I was 2, she said one morning, like, I was being really quiet, like, in my crib, and she's like, okay, this is weird, like, she's sleeping in really late, and that when she went to go check on me, I had, like, a string baby blanket, and it was wrapped around my neck, and if I moved, I would have, like, choked.
Oh my gosh.
So it was kind of, like, stuff like that. I can't even think of too many other experiences. I know there's, like, times when I was riding my bike where I was, like, this close to being hit by a car, and, like, stuff like that that's just happened to me, like, since I can remember. But it's been crazy.
How do you describe your personality back then growing up?
Growing up, I would say, I think I was, like, pretty naive, and I was, like, one of those kids that, like, really wanted to fit in and kind of tried pretty hard, but at the same time, like, I was really creative and, like, kind of stuck to myself a little bit, and once I got past that phase, I was a bit more introverted and kind of just realized I didn't want to be like everybody else. So I kind of became more independent.
Did you like school?
For a little while, yeah. Like when I was in elementary school, I really didn't mind it as much. I did have like some separation issues with kind of being away from home and away from my parents and stuff at first, and then once I adjusted, I enjoyed being around like so many people my age. But once I was in like middle school through high school, I was just so done with it. Like, and I never actually went to like college or anything because I just hated it past that point.
What about it didn't you like?
I think it was just like feeling like everything I was being taught was so useless. Like some stuff is important, yes, but it's like I didn't really need to learn how to like do a lot of the things I learned in math or like I don't know, there's just like some stuff that was completely pointless to me, and I was like, I don't understand like why we can't be learning about things that actually I'm gonna like carry into my adulthood. So I just kind of found it pointless.
Did you like music class best or any other classes?
Yeah, definitely. I actually started taking choir when I was in 3rd grade. So you weren't actually allowed to enter choir until you were like 5th or 6th, but they let me in early. So I did that from 3rd grade to 8th grade, and then in high school I was like a little bit worried about taking choir again because it was a different teacher than I had from 3rd to 8th grade. But I did it anyways, and that's when I kind of started enjoying it a little bit less because that's when I started like making my own music. So it was a little bit harder for me to like sit in a class and have to kind of read this like sheet music that was not my style at all. You kind of just have to like not have any creative control. So that was a little bit difficult, but like when I was younger, I actually really enjoyed it because it taught me a lot of the things I know now.
And when you were in 2nd and 3rd grade, you did like a recital, right? And that's when you realized you really wanted to sing.
Yeah, I did. So we had this thing where like everyone had to participate in it. Like I think I was in like 3rd grade. Like every single 3rd grader had to do this musical thing. But there was a few kids that got solos, and so I tried out for one, and there was like 400 people at
wow.
Yeah. So I like did it. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear it.
Oh, yeah.
So I ended up doing the solo, and I like kind of just realized how fun that was, like because I'd never performed for anybody. I had still been singing up until that point, but I just never like performed anything like that. So after that, like I just really got into like trying out for more solos and performing.
Do you remember what you sang that day?
I don't remember the name of it, but it was like some silly song about like taking piano lessons. It was so weird. It was just very simple, like for an 8-year-old to memorize.
And from then onwards, were you like known as like the singer in your school, or?
Kind of, yeah. There was like a couple people that were really into like music and singing, but so like when I was in elementary school, definitely, but once I got to high school, like there was a lot of people that were into like the musicals and singing and stuff, so I don't think I was like, there was even an award given to a couple of people for like most likely to become like a famous musician, and like that was never given to me, so I was like,
well, they're wrong.
Yeah, no, but it was like I kind of got a little bit in the dust when I was in high school. But yeah.
And were you always like nervous and like was it anxious back then also, or?
I didn't really start developing like, well, I guess I probably was, but I didn't start noticing and really realizing it was an issue until I was in middle school, because I went to the same school for about 9 years, from kindergarten to 8th grade. And so the transition to high school is like what really started making me worry about things that like I usually wouldn't worry about, and like feeling a lot of social anxiety. So that's kind of when that stuff developed, and I like realized that it was an issue, I guess. So.
And then how did you realize you were bipolar?
Well, I actually had, so that transition is kind of like what made me realize that I was having like more than just worries and sadness, that this was actually probably like a mental illness. So I went to a therapist and a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed with depression, and that kind of happened for a little less than a year. And then this kind of like incident happened, and I was in a behavioral center for a little bit, and they were like really kind of analyzing me to see what was the actual issue, and I was re-diagnosed with bipolar. So I've had that like medication and all of that stuff like put in place for about 5 or 6 years that I've known.
Oh.
So I feel like I've definitely like started to understand it a lot though, compared to how I used to like analyze how I was feeling, because now I feel like I have a lot more knowledge on like when I know that I'm feeling manic or depressed, and I kind of see like the signs of when I'm starting to feel differently than I usually do.
And is it something you still deal with strongly like day to day now, or not as much as before?
I don't think like I'll ever stop struggling with it really, but it's like something that I learned how to deal with easier than I did before, I guess.
What kind of advice do you have for people who are going through it or dealing with it?
I'd say like just really try to educate yourself and like understand when your moods are switching, and like because it's different for everybody. So I feel like understanding yourself and trying to catch like when you're feeling a certain way, and not just like stay in a slump and like stay there, like, you know what I'm saying, and just actually try to like help yourself and like tell somebody else about it is really what like helped me a lot, so I didn't feel so alone, and like you know.
And have you always been into Sailor Moon?
I was never like super into it, but I used to like watch Sailor Moon and stuff, and I kind of like had a little crush on her, and I was like into it when I was in high school a bit, and then it was kind of just like a little phase I had, and then I kind of outgrew it. But yeah.
And then after you finished high school, you like took a gap year, right?
Yeah, so I was kind of like nervous to tell my parents about that, because my dad is like super like, okay, you need to go straight to college, like kind of have a plan for yourself, just to be like smart and secure. But I was like, so can I take a gap year so I can like focus on music or try to make something out of it? And then I ended up getting like signed within that year, which was so crazy because I really didn't expect that to happen.
Was that in the gap year? Were you working for Jack in the Box? Is that when it was?
Yeah, I was working for Jack in the Box, and then I kind of like in the middle of that year I quit so I could do music, and was like, I need to like put everything, all of my time and everything I have into the music. And that's when I wrote Medusa in my bedroom. And then and so that's kind of what like created all that's happened, I guess.
Were you living with your parents, so there wasn't like any pressure for you to like earn money off it yet? Yeah,
not yet. My mom really like believed in me, and she kind of knew that like, I just feel like she had the intuitive, I don't know, like she just like really knew that something was going to happen and that something was going to come out of this. So she really trusted me to not be in school that year and to try it out. And then my dad kind of had like his doubts for a little bit and was like, okay, like you do your thing. And then this year when I had my first show and he came out to LA, I think I like really showed him. Like, so I was like, yeah, I'm doing this.
And then the Medusa on Twitter just went viral, right? Like randomly. Were you like super shocked?
Yeah, it was like, because I really just like didn't expect anything to come out of it. I was like, okay, I'm experimenting and I'm just gonna see where this goes, I guess. And once I put it up there, like overnight, the next day I checked and it had over 100,000 likes. And that was like crazy to just watch the numbers go up. And I was like, oh my God, like something, please, like somebody notice this. Like, and that's kind of what happened. I found my manager
through that.
Oh, so like soon after, like he reached out to you.
Yeah.
Were a lot of people reaching out to you at that time?
Yeah, I had like a few bigger people like kind of being like, oh, this is cool, you know, and I was like, thanks. So I was kind of like seeing that something was happening a little bit.
How did you realize you wanted to go with that and your manager?
Should we like, alright, I feel like,
Oh yeah.
sorry. I guess I realized it because like I met him and I saw how excited he was for my projects and how he kind of just like got what I was doing, and then soon after that he connected me with like some labels and became real.
And you had like 4 songs, right, when you were like meeting all these labels that you wrote, or did you have like?
I just had Medusa.
Oh.
Like I had like some stuff on SoundCloud, but it wasn't really like anything like I'm doing now. So that kind of stuff was just like me finding beats on YouTube. Like it was like recorded pretty badly. And then so that's like all they got to see. But like the whole EP besides Medusa, like I wrote within the first month of being signed. And, like,
Oh wow. Were you like afraid of going to all these labels, or because you didn't have much out, and maybe like it was kind of early on in your career that they could have like controlled you, if that makes sense?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was like a little bit weary because I had nothing to compare my experience to because I didn't know anybody that was in the industry really. I just didn't know what to expect, and like I didn't know what signs to look out for of like what could possibly screw me over, you know what I'm saying? So I just had my mom come in because my mom's like a really great businesswoman too, and I had like an attorney and stuff, and we just really like thoroughly looked over the contract, and I was like, okay, like I trust. So and it's been going great. Like I have so much creative control. I feel like I have a lot more than people would assume. So it's been really good.
Yeah. And did you, well, I guess with the Medusa you kind of figured out what you would be as an artist, like with your branding and like the type of music, even like the way you look with your like, hair color.
I mean, honestly, during that time I really didn't know as much like what I wanted like KAILEE Morgue to be, and not as if it's like something that's that far away from like who I am, but it was just like what kind of music specifically do I want to make, like what do I want my look to be like I didn't really know at the time, and now I feel like it's so much more set in stone that like everything I'm doing is very much more authentic, and I feel like for future visuals and music that'll really show. So
was it difficult going from just like making music in your bedroom to like knowing how to work studios and working with producers?
A little bit, just because there's such a big difference between me like feeling random bursts of inspiration and writing in my room versus like going into these scheduled sessions. Like that was probably the hardest part, is being like creative on a schedule. So I had to learn how to like really kind of sit in a room and like wait for something to come, even if it took hours for me to be like, oh, this is an idea I have, you know.
Did you have difficulties being like vulnerable in sessions and like showing, like telling your story?
At first I did, yeah. Like I even just meeting the producers, because I had such bad social anxiety, like at first it was really hard for me, and I was like, how am I supposed to write something that's really personal to me with somebody that I just met that day? And then I guess like it's just something that I learned like down the line, how to open up, especially because this is like their job too. Like they sit here in these rooms with so many artists, and you know, just like nothing is really weird or like too personal, especially in the music world, because that's what like songs really are. It's just talking about your story or someone else's story. So
what's the decision behind your YouTube and doing like Q&As and like sharing your story?
I wanted everyone to like know me on a level that I feel like people don't know most artists. Like I wanted to be really open, and I actually stopped just because I broke my adapter. So like everyone's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm not doing this on purpose. I just am too lazy to go to the Apple store. But yeah, I really just wanted to be like open on a level that's really like transparent than I've really seen any artist do, because I wanted to talk about like all the ugly parts of my life, I guess. So I'm opening up more.
What would you say have been your biggest inspirations for your like music videos, like the coloring and like how you look?
You say who or just what?
Like what?
I
I'd say like the coloring and stuff, like for Medusa at least, that video was really like, I just knew I wanted like purples and blues, because sometimes when I make songs, I'm actually like seeing in color like what it means to me. Like when I made that song, I was like, oh, this reminds me of purple. Like my brain just like does that sometimes, or I'll connect my songs with like random visual things. So that's kind of like what I thought for that one. But for FU, that one wasn't really like specifically inspired by anything. Like I was just like, let's go walk around and just like do this video. But for my next video that's coming out, like I'm like 100% like directing, and
oh, nice.
Which is something that I've never done. So that one definitely is like, you'll see a lot of symbols and like color that was specifically inspired by just the way the song sounds and the way it feels, you know?
And how about your whole like project? Are there any like movies or like characters or people that inspire it?
I'm not sure if there's like specific things, rather than just like kind of the feeling of like, I don't know, I love making songs that are that make you feel a little uneasy, like uncomfortable, but at the same time it's like kind of cool and like maybe sexy, like kind of just having different feelings. For me, it's all about like the way it feels, I think, more than like visually and the aesthetic of it, you know?
And you've always been inspired by like Gwen Stefani, right?
Yeah, as you can see. I love her. I went to her show in Vegas, and I was like, I swear she like pointed at me and she like stared at me, and I was like, yes! We had a moment. And then after that, she was like, every person I lock eyes with, I feel like I know you. And I'm like, that's my mom. She knows me. It was so exciting.
And how did you meet Quinn too, and how did the song come about?
The Quinn?
Yeah.
Well, that song kind of was just like, his team like reached out to me. I actually never met him. But like they reached out to me, and they're like you would be perfect for this. Like he has this open verse on this song. And like he's heard your music and your voice, and so I kind of just wrote my own verse, and it just like came together beautifully. Like I love writing for other people's songs too, because I kind of get to step out of my world of music and my comfort zone and go more into like what they're doing. So that's cool.
And how about with Ethan?
Oh, that was so fun. we made like 3 songs that day, and Do You Feel This Way was just the one that like there was 2 that were like, these 2 are so good, but that one just kind of like really felt different than anything I'd heard. That felt more like us just hanging out, because I had already like gone to that house and like worked with other producers that we had done sessions there, so I'd met him, and like it was just more like a friendship level of making music, rather than like, oh, we're gonna sit here and we have to make a song for this reason or for this album, you know what I'm saying? So it was really comfortable and just fun.
And can you talk to the process of like moving to LA and like deciding to move back home?
So I moved here because obviously when I got signed, it was like I was jumping into this world of doing sessions all the time and doing photo shoots and doing all the stuff that came with being an artist. And it was just so much easier to be out here. Like at first I was like, oh, I just need to be here because I have to work on these days and do all these things. So it made sense for me to just be like accessible and here. And then I realized that my hometown is like a 45-minute flight, and I just was alone all the time, and I missed, because I'm a like very family-oriented person. So I just wanted to be around my mom, and then my boyfriend lives in Phoenix, my friends live in Phoenix, and so it just kind of made sense to me, because when I had days off, like I was just still not doing anything.
Oh, were you here alone? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that sucked. And like I have so much anxiety too, like living alone was the worst, because I was like, if someone comes in here, like I'm gonna die. Like not even to be like that dark, but it was just like how, like I'm so small, like well, how am I supposed to protect myself? It was just, I don't know, it was kind of like, it was just a little scary and like lonely. And yeah, so I lived here for like 8 or 9 months, and then I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go back home, and I can just come here like a week or 2 every once in a while, and that's been working so far. So.
And do you think you're gonna like move back here one day, or?
I think so, yeah, because I mean, right now I'm still in the very like beginning stages. I mean, I've only had music out for like 7 months, so it's like I'm not that like super busy right now, but I know there's gonna come a point where like I'm always gonna need to come back here, and it's gonna be smarter for me to be based here, where I can just like drive to wherever I need to go, like right there if they need me, rather than having to communicate everything, like with me being in a different state. So.
How would you say you've grown as a person compared to when you were younger?
I think I've become a lot more independent for sure, and like more confident with myself, because I feel like when I was younger, I was always trying to be something or like someone that wasn't me, and kind of like letting other people and things like influence me a lot more than I do now. I feel like I really know myself. What is that?
I kind of wish it was on me. It's like so hot.
I know,
out.
it's so hot.
Just like a waterfall there.
But yeah, I just feel like a lot more self-assured, I guess, and just like I know what I want, and I'm not as nervous. Especially like I think moving to LA, that was like one of the number one things that made me like not as nervous, because like there was so many fears and things that I kind of had to get over like when I was living here. So that really helped a lot too.
Can you describe your tattoos?
Yeah, I have like
Or like
16.
your favorite ones?
I'd say my favorite ones are the ones like on my hands and my wrist. This is my like newest one. Okay, that I'm like flipping off the camera. But this one says lover, and then this one is a Taurus symbol because my boyfriend's a Taurus, and I have no regrets. But yeah, then I have like these. I just think these are cool because these are the first ones you see really, and then I have like ones on my arms and stuff. But this is definitely my favorite.
Do you have meanings behind some of them?
Yeah, some of them I do. Like my first one is this one right on my shoulder, actually. And that one was originally supposed to be like a regular lotus flower, but that one, I wanted to turn it more into like a circular like mandala shape. But lotuses like grow through the mud. And I don't know, I just really liked kind of the symbolism of it, so I got that. And then like I have one that on my arm, which matches with my mom. So I have like some here and there that are even just like what was going on at the time that I got it is what makes it really special to me.
And have you always been to witchcraft?
I haven't really gotten that into it. Like it was like a goal for me to get more into like Wicca and stuff. But I really started getting interested in it once I was starting to get so busy that I had like no time to really like sit down and learn new things and read these books and go buy new like crystals and like oils and herbs and things that I can actually use and teach myself. So I was into it like a little bit. I dabbled, but it wasn't like something that I mastered at all.
What does love mean to you?
Love is like everything, and I feel like everything I'm going to say is going to be so cliche right now.
No, I love it.
But it's all around, and I feel like love is more than just like a personal like relationship with somebody. Like I feel like it's really even just like complimenting a stranger and like doing things like that means so much, even though it's something so small. And it's just like, I wouldn't say it's happiness, but it's just a little bit of like a glow, I guess.
What do you love about your boyfriend's personality?
My boyfriend has like this ability, not only for me, but for everyone he meets, to like make them really comfortable and to make them feel like it's okay to be themselves. So I think that's like probably one of my favorite traits about him, because I never feel comfortable with anyone but like my immediate family, because they know me so well. But he makes me feel comfortable, like even when because I'm such a nervous person, so that's really helped me a lot.
How did you meet him?
So he it's actually kind of crazy. His mom like randomly got this job offer in Phoenix, because he's from Virginia. And then, sorry, it was so loud. And then, so he randomly moved to Phoenix, and then he randomly found my friend group, because he's a producer, and he was looking up like Arizona artists on Instagram, and he just found my friends. And then they were coming to visit me in LA, and he just like happened to be there, and so he came to my house. And at first I was like I didn't know he was coming, so I was kind of like, who is this kid in my house? Like, I don't know you, because they didn't tell me somebody was coming like I'd never met. So I was kind of just like, okay. And then after like the night went on, like I was like, oh, like he's got a little accent, like he was really cute. So I kind of just like, we just started talking, and I actually had a dream about him that night, like after I met him. So that's how we started talking.
How long ago was that?
That was like back in February. So we've been dating for like 5 months now. But I feel like I've known him for like years and years. 'Cause he's just like so, he's so cool. I love him.
I love that. Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
I don't know. Like, that's a really heavy question because I don't even know like what's most memorable about me. I feel like obviously through music, I want to kind of have done something that's slightly different than what everyone else is doing. I obviously want to like do something that inspires other people to want to make music and make a different kind of music than they usually would. And then like personally, I feel like I want to be memorable for, I guess, just being open and being like completely transparent and like making people feel like it's okay, like to have issues and to have things that are like kind of baggage, because that's what I got. Like, that's what everyone has, but I feel like they feel the need to hide it, and I kind of just want everyone to like feel like they're okay.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.